For this space, I'm going to install some domestic pieces, almost as though it was an interior design showroom, a little bit. But there will be a narrative going on between all the pieces, having to do with borders, prison walls, migration, and U.S. history that has led to its culture of imprisonment. I'm Jenny Polak. I'm an artist based in Brooklyn, originally from England. I'm a political artist. I think of myself as that. I have been looking at and thinking about borders and border crossings for a long time. Incarceration, immigrant detention, the system-imposed suffering that people were going through. But also the resilience and the amazing stories of people. And my thought with these kinds of works is to imagine them infiltrating the space of the privileged, where art mostly resides, so that they can be addressed, or must be addressed. For the last couple of years, I've been working with people from the Fortune Society, which serves people returning from prison. I invited people to make short poetry and statements about their experiences with that, and their words and their poetry have been transcribed onto pennant flags, which I sew, and we've been installing them in public space. I feel that my more kind of activist activities in my life are for me to learn from people so that I can have a better sense of what are the pressing issues that I feel need to be in the visual landscape. I guess I thought about refugeeship and migration from my own family's background. I describe myself as a European Jew because parts of both sides of my family made it to England through having had to leave other parts of Europe. I grew up hearing about people fleeing persecution, also being hidden by very courageous people who put their life on the line. And I always wanted to bring that into the present moment, the kind of commitment of people to support and help each other, but also the kind of artifacts and structures that might be needed to do that. One of the things I did was to develop warning signs, a whole series of warning signs for different kinds of public spaces to alert people to the danger of an immigration raid and where to escape. They had a mosque and everything there. There wasn't no community. I managed to meet somebody from that community. They were absolutely terrorized by the anti-terrorism task force. For my installation, I found there was a hidden attic in the carriage house. It was closed up, but they let me make a hole in the ceiling. I turned it into an imaginary hiding place, and I made up some kinds of artifacts of people perhaps having stayed there. The iSlip Museum authorities got asked questions about this, and they told me that they were going to have to put a sign up in the exhibition when it opened, saying that no immigrants had ever been hidden in the carriage house. They felt they had to make a denial of the essentially fictional story that I felt it was important to tell, to have people in that area think about how state policies affect your neighbors. This is a thread that's running through my work for a long, long time, which is that institutions should think about the need to hide people sometimes. Institutions and homes actually should support undocumented immigrants who are vulnerable to being caught and detained. And this is a hiding space that's site-specific, so it's designed to kind of go with the architecture of this room. The work in the show is going to include several pieces which make reference to almost interior design decisions. There will be a large table setting with ceramics that are a whole fleet of little model boats, essentially, where they're like cups. Printed on their sides are a whole multitude of little ships. My tests that I made. This is almost too desaturated, this one. So that's one type of work which talks about the movement of peoples from the global south. Also, there's a set of wall tiles which are referencing what you might have in your kitchen or your bathroom, but they depict a never-ending wall that traverses a landscape. I increasingly saw that there was a kind of continuity in a way between the imprisonment of immigrants and incarceration more broadly, and that there's a benefit in terms of the struggle to end mass incarceration to link those two stories together. And then I made a whole series of little vignettes of different workplaces and situations that had been raided, partly to indicate the amazing range of work that migrant workers are doing throughout the US. And in this show, I'm hoping to transform into a wallpaper. I had to bring all of these separate files, work on them each, and then bring them into this massive comp. It's going to be 10 foot high. I really love the idea of bringing very kind of transgressive messages or ideas into a space where completely unsuspecting people will interact with them. I did a long day of rapping on the tower on Monday. I'm sore from I was up and down the ladder, like this. But it's looking quite good and kind of mummified, I think. One of the things in the exhibition is a kind of watchtower. The watchtower structure I've used in the past as a kind of counter-surveillance mechanism, but in this case, it's just going to be a structure that emphasizes its own morbidity. It's going to be a dying structure that's trying to still control everything, but it has no future. It's very important to me to make something that seems to me beautiful, but also challenging. So the work will be strange. It's not a very recognizable form, usually, of art that I make. It asks people to think, to bring together thought and action and enjoyment.